Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead me from darkness to light. Some concepts, as we were summarizing Bhagavad Gita, we feel that they are central to Bhagavad Gita. What are these concepts? Of course, there is the law of karma, the karmic law. And yet, at the same time, we have heard so much about the gunas, sattvic guna, rajasic guna and tamasic guna, and the Daivi and the Asuri pravrittis. How are all these concepts related? And what is the significance of knowing these concepts in our life and in transforming our life into at a spiritual level, taking it to a spiritual level? So very simply put, we talked about how Karma Yoga dissociates. When we do Karma Yoga, we dissociate ourselves from the phala, from the fruit of the action, and we say, okay, it's not mine. And with that bhava in mind, that the karma phala is not mine, I move ahead with my action. And in Jnana Yoga, I say, I'm just not this finite piece of matter anyway. And none of these things are infinite around me. They're all finite. And I'm not just the finite thing. So, I dissociate myself from the karma itself. Not the karma phala, but also the karma itself, that yes, I'm doing my kartavya, completing my tasks in the world, my duties, and yet I am not lipt, I am not attached. And in Bhakti Yoga, of course, it was the easiest to understand, hardest to do, of course, is to leave everything to God, to surrender and to say that I am not going to seek too much control of my life. All the time seeking, I am controlling this, I am controlling that. No. Bhakti, Bhagwan is there. There is a higher law, the law which is above me, and I may surrender to that. In Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, in this way, people have become detached, nirlipt. We saw that. But in order to be detached, we have to give up something. So detachment, the actual Sanskrit word is virakti or vairagya, right? Now vairagya also means renunciation. So renounce what? So we have to renounce the ego, because as long as the ego, the aham and the mamata is there, I will never be able to detach myself from either karma or my duties or karma phala, or from trying to seek control in everything in my life. So aham becomes again central to my leading a non-spiritual life. My aham is interfering. Now, where does this aham come from? My aham, my ahankar, my sense of control over everything. I am the karta, I am the bhokta. Kartritva, bhoktritva. We had seen these concepts. Where do they come from? This aham comes from the influence of gunas. You know, so these gunas are actually, some people are selfless by nature. I mean, in a very effortless sort of way, they are selfless. So we can say they are okay, they are sattvic people. Some people are very self-centered and driven by ambition and passion and sensuousness. So that is rajasic. And some people are, their lives and their mental makeup is more lethargic or jealous or resentful, and therefore tamasic. Now these gunas we have to recognize are the influence. This influence of gunas are creating the kind of bhava I have towards my karma, action in the world, and therefore the gunas are creating a sort of karma cycle, and I act according to my gunas. Therefore, the guna will dictate to me whether I am responding to any situation in the world or doing any action in the world with an asuri or a daivi pravritti. These are two terms again we saw in the Bhagavad Gita. Asuri pravritti, the non-divine, the devilish pravritti, which is, doing action or interacting with people full of arrogance and vanity and pretension and anger and cruelty, just plain ignorance, and not being very careful about one's spiritual growth. One is indifferent. Spiritual growth, wo kya hota hai? And therefore very indisciplined in the spiritual life. This is Asuri. Now Devi Pravritti is also there in all of us, and from time to time we see it emerging. That is when we are in satsang or seva or sadhana or self-study or swadhyaya, when we are doing anything with the bhava of arpan or worship, or just to offer our work as an offering either to Bhagwan or to other people, we are able to work with the bhava, with an attitude of service. Now this is the Devi Pravritti, and here we see people who live with austerity. There is not too much of hankering of I want. There is an austerity when one's needs are taken care of, and there is a simplicity, and there is a truthfulness and trustworthiness, and there is, therefore, because there is not too much of hankering, there is tranquility, and there is freedom from fault finding and competition and comparison, etc. All this is Devi Pravritti. Now, Devi Pravritti and Asuri are both symbolic of the great struggle that the Bhagavad Gita has talked about. Okay, we have seen the Kurukshetra war between Kauravas and Pandavas, but within us also symbolically there is always this struggle between Asuri and Devi Pravrittis. Sometimes we find that the Devi emerges, and we know that the Devi Pravritti emerges if we are in the right company or doing seva or studies or swadhyaya. And if the moment we get into the passionate world of comparison and materialism and one-upmanship and pretension ki main isse bhi behtar hu and I want things better, now that comparison is extremely odious, and it creates in us a rat race mentality which leads us to Asuri. Both are within us, and these create the gunas. What we allow to emerge from our subconscious, Asuri or Devi, creates the gunas. So the gunas of Sattvikta, Rajasikta and Tamasikta will be there, and therefore the karma will be done according to one of these, the influence of these gunas. These concepts have been amply clear in the Bhagavad Gita. And now we know that when we come to karma, it simply means that what we do and what we think is what we become. So what the kind of actions we choose to do becomes our habit, because when we go into a repeated mode of repeating the same way of thinking, the same way of acting, the same way of reacting, seeking the same things in life, not seeking something new or higher or spiritual, it becomes a habit, a routine, a path which is accepted. Once the habit forms, it becomes our swabhava. Our swabhava actually then concretizes the kind of deep impressions we carry over in many lives as vasana, and they emerge as prarabdha or the results. Prarabdha is the result of all those actions that we have taken, thoughtfully or thoughtlessly, and the prarabdha becomes our karmic reward. So what is this karma then? The theory of karma is the one on which Sanatan Dharma philosophy rests. It rests on this. Suppose there was no karmic law to talk about, people would say, I'll do as I please. Who cares? Who's looking? Who's ever going to find out that I have had these asuri bhava in my mind of arrogance, vanity and distaste for people or things? Who will ever know? We will never ever then be able to follow the logical path of Sanatan Dharma, which talks about karmic law. And the karmic law states that there is first of all, it's a cosmic law, and it is the law of cause and effect. You can't see the cause of so many things that are happening, but the effect is felt now as our present existence and the kind of circumstances, favorable or otherwise, that we encounter. That is the effect. We may not see all the causes, but it is a law, and a cosmic law over cosmic time, which is the law of cause and effect. And it is it's not fickle, it's not whimsical, it is exact. It is exact. So when we know about this, we want to take proper steps in sansar, living in sansar, so that the wheel of karma and its rewards, so usko bhogne ke liye aana hai, paap and punya, in order to enjoy the results of both, we have to come back. As long as we are aware that my karma is creating more and more results, I will keep moving in the wheel of karma or reincarnation, and that wheel will keep revolving. This is actually one of the central tenets in Vedanta and in Bhagavad Gita, so quite important. So what is it that is in my control then? If everything is cause and effect, naturally something has caused it, right? For the effect to be felt. So the effect is felt now, that is prarabdha, what we are going through. There is no choice. So as Radhakrishnan used to say, he said, look, the cards of your life are dealt out to you. So when they deal out the cards, you may get 5 cards of a certain denomination or whatever, of colors. And then there is no choice in that. The cards are dealt out to you, the kind of circumstances and family and situation you will get, and swabhav. But within that, how you deal with the cards and how you play the cards, you have a free will. That's what Radhakrishnan used to say. And therefore, it's easy to understand karmic law of cause and effect as the central, and reincarnation as the central belief of Sanatana Dharma. Otherwise it won't rest. The philosophy won't rest without this idea. Now, so is Bhagavad Gita a philosophical text? Yes, it talks about the most philosophical questions of who am I, and it answers it in many ways, that I am Shashvat. I meaning the Jiva, the individual self, is Shashvat. That means it cannot be destroyed in its Atma form. And it answers the question, what is the nature of Paramatma? The nature of Jiva and Paramatma. So Paramatma is also Akshara. So Akshara and Shashvat, both are indestructible. Both are part of the same. So I understand this higher philosophy, but at the same time, then I come down to Sansara and say, okay, Bhagwan, what is the goal of my life? Third question, which every seeker must ask. Who am I? What is the nature of Paramatma? And what is the goal of my existence? As a human being, I can rise up to the glory of being human, and that is to understand this highest truth as I am that Shashvat Atma. I am Nitya, indestructible, and therefore interacting in the world, I need not disturb my swabhava or muddy my swabhava by interacting in the world with kama krodha. So my goal of life is to understand the highest truth about existence, about whether I am nitya or anitya, and whether things that I am interacting with are permanent, impermanent. What am I attaching myself to? My goal is to understand my highest self. Simple. How to lead my life? Fourth question. So the fourth question leads us to, Bhagwan has said, now the guidance comes. So it's a book of practical guidance also, Bhagavad Gita. And so Bhagwan says, very simply, why don't you just stick to the sattvic traits, of santushti and of saralta and of tranquility, of silence, of austerity. These are sattvikta. How to lead my life? Follow the traits of sattvic life. And that is the Devi pravritti. And also, most importantly, if you want to not remember so many things, just say, Bhagwan says how to lead your life. Just be udasin first. Udasin, detached. And we have talked a lot about detachment. That's also very, very central to Bhagavad Gita. Udasin, be detached and be beyond raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion. Vita raga dvesha. Simple. In one nutshell, how to lead my life? Be detached, be beyond raga and dvesha. Vita raga, dvesha and udasin. But when I try to do all this in the sansar, I have a lot of blockages. And what are these blockages to my becoming detached or above raga and dvesh? And the blockages are simple. Bhagwan has already pointed out. He said there are these gates to hell, which means the blockages, and that is kama, krodha, mad, lobha, moha, my greed, my desire, my anxiety to gain this or that. And that is what is stopping me, my blockages, my envy, my jealousy, my comparison, my wanting to pretend to be someone else, to project a certain image of myself within society. But I want to be detached, and detachment can come only if my ego drops and my aham drops, or if I am watchful of my aham. Then how do I do it? Then we come around full circle and Bhagwan says, इसीलिए तो आपको कर्म योग, ज्ञान योग, ध्यान योग और भक्ति योग बताया था। इसीलिए बताया था ताकि अब हम फिर से जब ये पूछें कि अच्छा अब मुझे समझ में आ गया कि मेरे अहम की वजह से I am getting into the wrong path of काम, क्रोध and the whole cycle of rebirth and rajasic and tamasic gunas. I am just muddying my own antahakaran, my man and buddhi. Then I want to know how. Bhagavan says, yes, इसीलिए कर्म योग, ज्ञान योग, ध्यान योग और भक्ति योग सिखाया था. In no other scripture will we find, not even in Vedantic scripture, not even in the Vedas, only in Bhagavad Gita you will find these clear-cut methods of action. And out of the compassion of Krishna, he has offered it as a path we can follow. And at the same time, Gita is very, very popular because it's not pedantic to say, okay, so you have to follow this. It's not a commandment. It's to say, Gita always says, follow your heart and your gunas. If you feel that you're too rajasic and you just cannot get into dhyan yoga, try the path of karma yoga. There's a lot of flexibility. The choice is yours, and that's why Gita is popular. So what am I going to get out of it? You will get exactly what you are seeking from sansar. Wrong address, but the result is the same. We are seeking joy and anand and harsh and shanti and santushti and satisfaction and sukha. Bhagavan says, exactly. Try living in sansar. Without seeking, you will arrive at this junction, but permanently. So in all situations, in what kind of situations will I gain prasannata and santushti and sukha? So Gita says, in all situations, in jay, parajay, in man, apman, and in situations that work to your heart's desire, which don't work the way you wish them to, they're contradictory to the way you want it. Every situation, if you want to have that samata, that equilibrium, here it is, I'm offering you through the 4 engines of the ship, that is the 4 yogas. Having said this, I'm sure it was in Arjun's mind at some point as to tell me, Krishna, just very, very briefly what I should be doing, because the path is very long. I have to cultivate so many sattvic qualities. And Bhagwan only said in the 6th chapter, he said, Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grehyate. Okay, Arjun, stick to 2, just 2 tenets and hold on tight to it. What is it? Abhyasa and vairagya are the only 2 ways in which you will reach the highest. Abhyas of what? Abhyas is consistent practice. So if I want to practice not being angry or jealous or desirous or being selfish, or if I want to really go into deep studies or satsangs or discussions or contemplation or naam jap or puja or archana or dhyan, he said constant practice, abhyas and consistency will get you there, Arjun. So he said just hold on to 2 things which will get you there, abhyas. But along with all the abhyas, which means consistent practice, not sporadic practice, the second thing you have to hold on to is vairagya. Vairagya is detachment, and this word has come, tyaktva. Tyaktva means give up, give up, give up, has come so many times in the Bhagavad Gita that it has become one of the main chords woven through the fabric of Bhagavad Gita. The main design in the Bhagavad Gita is this Vairagya. So we can't afford to give it up. We can't afford to treat it lightly. So Bhagavan has said, Abhyas, be consistent, and in everything that you do, try and see whether you are detached. Padma Patra Vimam Bhasa. Just like the lotus leaf. That is so much water off the back of the duck. So much water off the duck's back. This is the expression in English, which means water doesn't stay on the back of the duck. It swims in water. It lives in water. It finds its food in water. We live in sansar. We find our sustenance in and our livelihood in sansar. But yes, at the same time, like the duck, we need not let the water touch our bodies, which means our minds. Our minds need not be affected. That kind of bhav or vairagya, and with some austerity, you will swim through this sansar, Arjun, no doubt. And so, and we know very well that Krishna has advised that the senses are always churning, and violently they're churning, and the mind is churning violently. Why? Because we are probably in contact too much in the world. So Bhagavan says, just stick to the knowledge, and when you learn something, learn with reverence, that it is the highest supreme Godhead, Krishna himself, that is bringing the knowledge to you. It's revealed knowledge, and with that reverence you take this knowledge, and then take this knowledge also through inquiry and contemplation. Ki ye kaise ho sakta hai? Like Arjun kept asking, inquiry, and also never forget to live through service. So a life which is filled with selfless service, some inquiry, contemplation, reverence for the highest knowledge can never be derailed, can never go off the path, and it can become unshakable. Why unshakable? Because once you realize that everything is anitya and it is ephemeral, there is nothing really to hold on to, actually. That realization, for that realization, you don't have to be a reader of great granth and be a great scholar, or to be well versed in literature of the scriptures. No, even people like Kabir and Meera and Surdas, why? They can also, for everyone, the highest knowledge is open. So in the most rustic of language also, they understand the highest truth. You don't have to have this elegant poetry of Sanskrit. The most sophisticated and elegant poetry is in Sanskrit, and I don't understand it. I'm such a layman. No, even Kabir would explain the same truth in a very rustic language. He would say, Mat kar kaya ko abhiman re bande, mat kar kaya ko ahankar re bande. Kaya is your skin, body. It also stands for everything finite. Kaya gar se kachi, everything that we own and possess and are attached to. Gar se kachi, as weak as mud. Jhoka pavan ka lag jaye, jhatka pavan ka lag jaye, kaya dhoor ho jasi. The kaya becomes dust. It goes back to dust. Matkar kaya ko abhiman re bandi. Again he has used the word abhiman, which is again the word that Bhagavan has warned against when he says nirahankarah nirmamo. In the second chapter itself, he has concluded the second chapter saying, Arjun, why don't you just listen to these two simple words? Live nirahankarah nirmamo, without ahankar and mama. Kabir is saying the same thing. Ki abhiman kahe ka? Everything is temporary. So that's why Gita is popular, because it reaches out to the high and the low. It makes no distinctions, and also it is not a commandment, and also it is not a religious text which is confined to one religious community only. No, it is a book of truths. So anyone who wishes to know what the highest truth is, it is open to all. And therefore we find that this great text has survived 6,000 years, 5.5 to 6,000 years, according to scholars, and it has, of course, 700 verses, you know that. Today it exists in 75 translations, 75 languages. I don't think any other religious text in the world, or any other text, even secular text, has seen so many translations. Therefore, Aurobindo called it a living text. It addresses your struggle of the mind right now and here, every time, right down 6,000 years. A living text, 75 languages, And it's and you know, Aurangzeb's brother Dara Shukla was in the process in Varanasi. He was in the process of translating the Bhagavad Gita into Persian language. And of course, it exists today also in Persian and 75 other languages. Now, the setting is the struggle. We have seen the setting of Bhagavad Gita, which means the struggle symbolic of the Asuri and Devi pravrittis within us. That struggle is symbolic of the Kurukshetra also. But this text is completely universal. Universal, it can apply to anyone, anywhere, irrespective of time, geography, religious affiliation. It can apply to everyone who seeks the answers in the exact same manner. It is timeless. Its appeal is timeless. We cannot afford to lose touch with a text which is the most timeless and the most widely translated text in the world, and it happens to belong to our culture. Right there, we're sitting in the lap of Vedantic culture, and if we don't know it or not try to live it, it will be a shame. It will be a shame to lose that opportunity and the time we have. Okay, so ekam sat vipraha bahudha vadanti. It's the same truth. Truth is the same, and it's timeless. It can never change through cultures or time or geographies. Now, if I am not able to complete it in one lifetime, what happens? Swalpamapyasya dharmasya. Okay, so even a small part of the learning is going to free you of your greatest of fears and take you forward, take that learning forward as a continuation right through different lives. So don't worry. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya, even a small part of it. Why? Because the seed of it is not lost. The seed of a beginning has been made, that we have made that beginning. That seed of the beginning can never be lost. So be sure that you have and I have been so deeply enriched by it that this is the treasure we hold, which cannot be lost even when I shed this body. When I shed this body, the jewels I have in the box over there, and the clothes and the costumes and the home and the family that I have will all be lost. But the seed of this beginning is that treasure which we will carry forward. So in that sense, we stand here in great humility, enriched enormously by an eternal truth which has been revealed to us because we were there ready to take it. So that's really lucky. And Bhagwan of course says, whenever you need me, I am there. Whenever your culture needs me, I am there. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. I will be there. Don't worry. Main hu na. So why do you worry? So there's nothing to worry about. And how far and how long will it take me to attain this great truth? So Kabir again he says, Arey, how long meaning what? You are that. So he says, मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास रे. मैं तुम ही हूँ. मोको कहाँ ढूंढे रे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास रे. न तीर्थ में न मूरत, न तीर्थ में न मूरत में, न एकांतवास में, न मंदिर में, न मस्जिद में, न काबा में, न कैलाश में, मैं तो तेरे पास रे. That consciousness which is with us is our greatest treasure, and we slap around in the world outside in sansar looking for this or that, and that is the greatest inglory of being human. So distinguishing between sat and asat, permanent and impermanent, and then going on to do all our kartavya in a very detached, virakt way is the only way that we can live on in this sansar. But is there something in the sansar that is still troubling me? Yes, because my mind still reacts to the world, the sansar, the people, the situations and vyakti and paristhiti. And Bhagwan says, all right, whenever you're troubled, come back to me, I am there. And open the text and you will find the answers. So how can you be troubled? Actually, you cannot even be killed, leave alone troubled. Nahanyate nahanyamane sharire is the declaration of the great Kathopanishad and of Bhagavad Gita. Nahanyate nahanyamane sharire. Nothing can harm you. So why the agitation? And therefore Krishna lays all our fears and all our agitations at rest. And as we come to the end of this scripture, we do feel that maybe there is something, some hope for us, some salvation that we are also capable of. And with that great hope, we remain indebted, first of all, and out of our debt, we want to share it with more and more people, and also remain in contemplation, never losing touch. We will close here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.